Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast.
Great to be back.
Today, we are wrestling with, well, a really interesting company. It represents one of the biggest energy gambles out there, certainly in the U.S. infrastructure space, Nextdecade Corporation.
Hmm.
And the central, crucial question for you, the listener, is pretty simple. Is this highly ambitious play a viable stock opportunity right now?
Yeah, it's about as binary an investment decision as you can get, I think. Because, the company's success isn't really tied to current profits at all.
Not at all.
It's tied entirely to whether they can pull off this massive multi-billion-dollar construction project years down the line.
Absolutely. And our sources for this analysis are, well, it's a real mix. We've got fundamental reports showing, frankly, widening losses.
Yep.
Technical snapshots that just scream volatility, and some really detailed catalyst summaries. So our mission today is to, quickly cut through all that noise, the huge debt, the construction schedules, the insider trading chatter, and give you a really crystal clear understanding of the risk and the reward here.
Sounds good.
Okay, but before we jump into the numbers, please just take a quick moment to subscribe, like, and comment on this analysis. We really appreciate it.
It helps a lot.
And hey, if there's a specific company you want us to look into next, just leave a comment below. We are definitely listening.
Yeah, let us know.
Okay, let's start where all investing discussions really have to start. The fundamentals. What does the core financial analysis tell us about where Nextdecade stands right now? Because the immediate numbers look pretty grim.
They do. And what's fascinating here, really, is that the income statement, it basically tells the story of a startup, not some established energy giant.
Right.
The company is almost entirely in the development phase. We see negligible operational revenue. Just $17.2 million in fiscal year 2024.
Barely anything for this scale.
Exactly. And that's hardly an uptick from the $16.5 million the year before. They are purely in capital allocation mode, building, not operating yet.
And the cost of building an LNG facility that's, positioned to be one of the largest in the country, it's just staggering. I'm looking at net losses here of nearly $144 million in 2024 alone.
That's right, $143.7 million to be precise. And those losses are widening. They were up from $130 million the year prior.
So getting worse, not better, in the short term.
In the short term, yes. And that widening loss is a direct result of two main things. One, the acceleration of project development expenses as things ramp up. And two, crucially, their rising interest costs tied to that enormous infrastructure financing they've secured.
Yep.
So yeah, they're not profitable, and let's be clear, they won't be for years.
And that leads us right to the balance sheet, doesn't it? They are sitting on just a massive amount of financing. We're talking $3.08 billion in total debt. How should, an equity investor think about a debt load that size?
Yeah, that number jumps out. But this is a really critical distinction. Almost all of that $3.08 billion is project-level debt.
Okay, explain that.
It means the debt is tied directly to the construction of the Rio Grande LNG facility itself. So, for you, the average investor, this is important because if the overall corporation, Nextdecade, were to hit some kind of temporary cash crunch, the lenders primarily have recourse against the asset being built, the facility, not necessarily the entire corporate entity. It provides some insulation.
There's always a but.
But it dramatically raises the execution risk. Because if that project stalls, or if there are major cost overruns.
Which happens in big projects.
Oh, absolutely. Then the entire equity valuation just gets crushed because the value is the project.
That makes sense. So the risk is less about, corporate default today and more about whether they can actually deliver this thing on time and on budget.
Precisely.
And given they burned through, $112 million in cash just on operations in 2024, when do they actually turn the corner financially?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, management guidance is pretty clear on this. Significant revenue growth, positive cash flows, that's all expected only after they actually start shipping liquid natural gas.
Okay, and when is that?
Based on the current construction timelines for Rio Grande, that's targeted for late 2027.
Late 2027. Wow. Okay.
So if you're investing today, you are signing up for minimum a 3-year horizon before you even begin to see financial de-risking.
Right. A long wait.
Which naturally raises the question, right? Why take on that risk? Why invest in a company that's losing more money each year and has a 3-year wait for a potential payoff.
Yeah, what's the book?
The answer really lies in the sheer scale of the potential payoff if they succeed and their specific competitive positioning.
And that potential is tied entirely to this Rio Grande project. You called it a greenfield project earlier.
Exactly. Nextdecade is focused squarely on developing major U.S. LNG export infrastructure, and they've successfully positioned Rio Grande LNG as the largest fully permitted greenfield export project in the country.
Greenfield
This
meaning?
means built from scratch on undeveloped land. It allows them to integrate, the latest modern design features from the ground up rather than retrofitting an older facility.
And that integration includes their attempt at standing out from the crowd, that green angle you mentioned.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And this is where the sort of potential premium value might come in down the road. They're marking a unique competitive advantage. Integrated carbon capture and storage, CCS.
Right.
The aim is to make Rio Grande LNG a significantly lower emissions product compared to rivals. However, and this is a big however stressed in our sources, this value proposition is totally unproven until operations actually begin, likely in 2027, and they can demonstrate those emissions reductions in practice. It's a promise for now.
So if their green advantage is basically just an assumption until 2027, how much risk are those early long-term contracts carrying right now? I mean, are buyers paying a premium for something that isn't guaranteed yet?
That's the absolute core tension here. Investors today are essentially betting that the market will reward that environmental edge with higher long-term contract pricing down the line.
A big bet.
A very big bet. Meanwhile, they are competing fiercely with established giants, Cheniere Energy, Sempra Infrastructure, Venture Global LNG.
Big players.
Huge players, all vying for the same global offtake contracts. So Nextdecade really has to deliver on that technological promise, the CCS, to truly stand out and justify a potential premium.
Okay, so it's a bet on future capacity, future technology. Let's shift gears, though, to the immediate term. Technical analysis, often gives us clues about market sentiment right now. The stock's been super volatile, trading between, $7.10 and $8.70 just this past September.
Yeah, the technical picture perfectly mirrors that high execution risk we talked about. Volatility is significantly above average for sure.
Right.
And what's really telling is how the standard indicators are behaving, or rather how they're not behaving. If we look at things like the MACD, the RSI, they're largely flat.
Flat. What does that flatness signal to us in this context?
Well, if technical indicators like MACD, which tracks momentum, or RSI, which looks at bought oversold levels, if they aren't really screaming buy or sell, it generally means that the kind of long-term fundamentals and the typical chart patterns are being ignored by the market right now. Trading is purely news-driven. Every technical spike you see or dip, it's almost certainly related purely to a construction update, a financing announcement, maybe a new offtake agreement rumor. The technicals are basically just reacting to the catalysts, not driving things themselves.
Which brings us nicely to the catalysts, because this is where it gets really interesting, right? Sources point to some major shifts recently, specifically in September 2025, that seem to have dramatically de-risked some of those project executing concerns.
Absolutely.
What are the key milestones here that our listener absolutely needs to know about?
Yeah, the recent activity has been highly validating for the project's future. The critical milestone, the big one, was Nextdecade announcing a positive final investment decision, or FID.
FID, okay.
And financial close, importantly, on Train 4 at Rio Grande LNG. That happened in September 2025.
Okay, let's quickly define FID for everyone. What does a positive FID actually mean? Like boots on the ground?
Right. A positive FID is essentially the moment the company flips the switch. They say, okay, we are no longer just planning this thing. We are actually borrowing the massive amounts of money needed, and we are digging the hole.
It's the point of no return, almost.
Kind of, yeah. It unlocks those billions in financing packages from the banks and the investors, and it signals that irreversible shift from planning and permitting into committed physical construction. Hitting FID on Train 4 specifically is a massive psychological and financial boost. It signals real confidence in expansion.
And right after that massive decision, we saw a pretty clear vote of confidence that really seemed to move the stock price.
Precisely. We saw strong insider buying almost immediately following that FID announcement, specifically Hanwha Aerospace. They acquired nearly 1 million shares across 2 consecutive days in September.
Wow, 1 million shares.
Yeah. And that commitment triggered, reportedly, a 5.5% stock boost almost instantly.
Wait a sec, a 5.5% boost just off of one company buying 1 million shares. That really underscores just how thin the trading is right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, a single large buyer can immediately move the price. It really confirms this is an event-driven stock.
It absolutely confirms that. The volume is clearly dominated by high-conviction players reacting to hard news, not, day traders churning it.
Right.
And beyond just the financial moves, we also saw some important strategic steps recently to kind of solidify the company's long-term credibility.
Like what?
Well, there was the board expansion back in July 2025. They added experienced directors like Pamela Beal and Diana Sands. That signals, strength and governance as they head towards actually operating this massive facility.
Makes sense. Building the team. Plus, there was that strategic global alignment piece too, wasn't there?
Yes, exactly. The strategic move by XRG, which is an ADNOC subsidiary, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company.
Okay. Major player.
Huge player. Them entering the U.S. LNG market in August, while not directly involving Nextdecade yet, really enhances the overall business ecosystem around these big U.S. projects. It sort of ties Nextdecade indirectly for now into these major global state energy players, which significantly boosts their long-term credibility when it comes to securing future contracts.
Interesting. Okay, so looking forward now, what are the next specific dates investors need to circle on their calendars? What are the upcoming catalysts?
Yeah, the upcoming short-term catalysts really focus on two things. Project capitalization, how they're paying for everything, and institutional sentiment.
Right.
Are the big guys buying in? So first, watch for the Q3 2025 earnings report. That's expected probably early November, maybe late October. Analysts will be heavily scrutinizing the expenditures and, crucially, the capitalization strategies for Train 4 construction. How are they funding this next phase?
Okay, Q3 earnings. What else?
Then, the institutional 13F filings deadline, that's November 8th, 2025. This is critical because it will reveal if big institutional funds, the pension funds, the endowments, are joining Hanwha and backing the project for the long term.
So we see if the smart money is following.
Exactly. And maybe keep an eye on ETF rebalancing dates, like around November 20th. Sometimes that can trigger volume spikes just due to index adjustments.
Got it. And beyond the official reports and filings, what about market chatter? Any big rumors floating around that our listeners should be aware of?
Oh, speculation remains really high, as you'd expect. There's continuous talk about a potential joint venture, maybe with a major Middle Eastern or Asian energy firm, to help accelerate capacity expansion, perhaps even on future train developments beyond Train 4.
That could be big.
Could be huge. However, the flip side rumor, the one shareholders don't like as much, is the possibility of a secondary share offering.
Dilution.
Exactly. To fund maybe some outstanding debt or other infrastructure needs. That always carries dilution risk for current shareholders. And, given all the recent insider activity and the FID success, some analysts are even suggesting a major M&A approach isn't out of the question. Maybe from a global LNG player looking for immediate access to U.S. export capacity.
So a lot potentially in play. Okay, let's try and tie this all together. We have this massive long-term upside potential defined entirely by the scale of Rio Grande. But it's balanced against huge short-term debt and these intense execution costs and risks.
Yeah.
Let's clearly lay out the major risks facing you, the listener, if you choose to invest right now.
Yeah, the risks are substantial. Let's not sugarcoat it. Because the entire valuation is basically predicated on the successful completion of that single massive asset, Rio Grande LNG.
Physical asset risk. Big one.
Huge. So, on the stock-specific side, it's pure project execution risk. Any significant delay, any major cost overrun, that would immediately shatter that late 2027 revenue timeline we talked about.
And hammer the stock.
And materially impact the value, absolutely. Furthermore, funding risk is constant. If they need more capital down the road, which is likely for a project this size, they'll probably raise it through either more debt or issuing more equity. Both paths could mean further dilution for existing shareholders.
Okay, so execution risk, funding risk, single asset risk. What about external risks, things they can't directly control?
Those are also major factors to consider. They definitely have exposure to cyclical commodity prices. LNG demand is strong now, but it's not guaranteed to remain sky high over the next decade.
Yeah.
Energy markets change.
Sure.
And regulatory shifts are always a background threat, whether that relates to U.S. export policy or maybe global decarbonization targets getting stricter or weaker, especially since their core competitive edge, that green angle, relies heavily on that still unproven CCS technology working as advertised.
Right. A regulatory change could either boost or kill that specific advantage.
Precisely.
Okay. So given all of this, the massive debt, the guaranteed 3-year wait for significant revenue, that crucial FID milestone they just hit, but also the inherent risks, what is the overall investment thesis summary according to the collective sources we looked at? What's the consensus?
Well, the consensus rating in our sources is pretty low. It averages out to about a 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10. Ouch.
Yeah. But it's important to understand why. This isn't necessarily a vote against the project itself succeeding eventually. It's really a recognition that right now the stock is highly speculative.
Okay.
The rationale is pretty clear. On the positive side, you have the largest permitted greenfield project in the U.S., that unique CCS angle, if it works, and those recent validating moves like the FID success and the insider buying. Big pluses.
Right.
But the negatives are just as stark. The widening losses currently, the severe cash burn, that massive debt load, and the constant risk of further dilution.
So what's the final verdict then? Who should even be looking at this stock right now?
Based on the sources, this stock is currently better suited only for short-term trading.
Okay. Explain that.
That means, highly capitalized, experienced traders, people who can genuinely tolerate binary risk, meaning it could go way up or way down, and who are nimble enough to capitalize on those news events and catalyst-driven spikes we discussed.
Got it. Not for the faint of heart.
Definitely not. It is explicitly not suitable for the average retail long-term investor right now. Not until significant operational and financial de-risking is achieved, which basically means not until they are actually physically shipping LNG and generating real cash flow.
That gives our listener a fantastic, really balanced view of the high-stakes gamble here. It truly is a decision based on patience, deep pockets, risk tolerance, and frankly, the ability to track every single project update.
Absolutely. The information clearly points to a highly binary outcome. This will likely either be a major success story years from now or a massive disappointment. There's probably very little middle ground.
Okay, well, as you, our listener, consider your next move, here's a final provocative thought for you to mull over, building on what we discussed. Given the company's heavy reliance on that still untested green CCS angle for its competitive advantage, how might global regulatory changes, either positive or negative, for carbon capture between now and 2027 ultimately impact the long-term value and the actual pricing power of those specific LNG offtake contracts they're signing today?
Something to chew on.
Definitely something to think about. We'll leave you with that. Until next time on an Investing Talk podcast.